Hello, my name is Candida Brush. I'm from the Arthur M. Blank Center at Babson College, and I'm here to talk about a new book that we have just released called The Life Cycle of New Ventures, Emergence, Newness, and Growth, published by Edward Elgar. This book is a collaboration between three schools, Babson College, Bodo University, and the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, and we have faculty from all three schools that have participated in writing chapters in this book. It emerged out of a conference where we talked about the differences across countries and how new businesses emerge, are created, and how they grow. The book is organized in 4 sections. The first section is about the context of new ventures. And this section covers issues around politics, regulation, socialization, and economic factors that affect the creation and growth of new ventures. The next section is the emergence section. Emergence is that phase of venture creation before a business becomes a business. And so issues around team formation, licensing of technology, and how businesses are developed in incubators are covered in this section. The next section is about the newness phase of venture development. And this is when a business is already formed, but they're developing new technologies, they're seeking new customers, and seeking early stage financing to grow businesses. The growth and development phase of businesses is when they're expanding and looking for new markets and developing aspects of the product that can allow it to move into new customer bases. The book overall covers all of these phases and has many implications for education, for policy, and for practitioners. Today we have authors who have written chapters for each of the 4 phases of the book. In the first phase, Eric Noyes and Elaine Allen will talk about the chapter they've written in the context phase. I've co-authored a chapter that appears in the emergence phase. Brad George has co-authored a chapter that appears in the newness phase. And Zach Zacharakis has co-authored a chapter that appears in the growth stage. Each of these authors will talk a little bit about their chapters.
On a per capita basis, the United States and Norway are 2 of the wealthiest countries in the world. However, the differences stop there. Where the United States has a population of 308 million people, Norway has a population of just 4.5 million people. Where the United States is a consumer of oil, Norway is a producer of oil. The difference in national conditions for entrepreneurship are quite striking, where Norway has a strong social safety net, which in many cases discourages entrepreneurship.
So while they're both wealthy countries, we see that this rate of entrepreneurship over time has been separate, with the U.S. having much higher entrepreneurship. However, some conditions are the same. Both in Norway and the U.S., entrepreneurship is opportunity entrepreneurship, very little necessity entrepreneurship. The big differences are in gender, where in Norway, over 70% of the entrepreneurs are male, and less than 60% of the entrepreneurs in the U.S. are male. However, Norway does have an initiative to create a rate of over 40% women entrepreneurship in the future. Thank you.
Tusen takk.
So what startup activities lead to success of nascent ventures? This is the question that I explored with my 2 co-authors, Linda Edelman and Tatiana Manolova. And we looked at the 4 properties of emerging organizations, a framework that was developed by Jerry Katz and Bill Gartner in 1989. The 4 conditions are intentionality, resources, boundaries, and exchange. And we looked at the frequency and the completeness of the formation of those 4 boundaries in nascent organizations, comparing United States businesses with those in Norway. And what we found was a lot of similarities between the businesses in the U.S. and in Norway. And the conclusion was that businesses that complete those activities faster and more fully are more likely to succeed.
New ventures, by their very nature, operate under conditions of high uncertainty, which can lead to conflict in group decision-making. While conflict has often been studied in isolation, there's 3 different types of conflict that become very important: task conflict, cognitive conflict, and affective conflict. Our study looks at not only the individual types of conflict, but more importantly, what percentage of the overall conflict is attributed to each of the types. In our study, we found that a high percentage of task conflict is actually beneficial to the firm, whereas a high percentage of affective conflict is detrimental to the firm. Procedural conflict is actually also beneficial to new venture performance.
Along with my co-author, Truls Eriksson, we looked at how venture capitalists and entrepreneurs work together. Previous studies have looked at venture capitalists and how conflict between that relationship can impact the effectiveness of the relationship. We looked at it from a different perspective. We asked entrepreneurs, is conflict good? And surprisingly enough, most of the entrepreneurs felt that conflict led to problems within the relationship that were detrimental to the overall performance of the venture.
The life cycle of new ventures covers entrepreneurship in the U.S. and Norway. However, there are implications for emerging economies and developing nations. Because this book looks at entrepreneurship across the life cycle, emergence, newness, and growth, it has implications for educators, practitioners, and government policymakers. For more information about this book, please go to the Edward Elgar website or the Babson College website, where you can find out how to purchase this book.